Hello, everybody. I might be a little more boring than James's presentation because I think you hear a lot of talk by research and less talk from people who actually did this kind of job. But maybe my job here is to put into perspective a little bit of what James was saying here. So, I mean, you have many types of platform work. What James was saying here is just one part of platform work that you can have. You can have on-location platform work like Uber or typically food delivery platform work, which is on location. You have to be in a specific place at a specific point of time to do the task. Whereas you might also have online platform work, which is not tied to a specific place nor a specific time. In principle, you just need to have an internet connection and a device to do your job. And within the online world, you can have low to medium skills work, click work, or micro work. It's often referred to as. I mean, Amazon Mechanical Turk, or for example, well, I have a picture of Cloudflower there, but it's not existing anymore, which is, by the way, one feature of the platform economy that you have companies that come and go, so they might not live that long. Uber is one of the long-living companies among some others. But it's click work because you get paid by clicks. So it's very routine. It might be tagging pictures, discovering mistakes in a text or things like that. But it might also be skilled work, which you would call, I would say, more traditional freelance work. So for example, through Upwork, you can find jobs or tasks or gigs. And I agree with James that it's not about gigs or tasks, but it is a job and it's work that you're doing. But I'm just maybe just more convenient to use the words that others use as well. So through Upwork, you can, for example, find design work or voiceover work or things like that. So it's quite different if you think about the worker's perspective to, for example, bargain for your own working conditions. I mean, in terms of what is the skills level that is required. If you are very skilled, if you have a very specific skill that you are able to kind of marketize and advertise, for example, in Upwork or Fiverr, you might do okay. But if you're just a clicker in any of the countries around the globe, that might not be that easy for you. So, and again, putting into context what James was saying, what are the most common types of platform work in the EU? The most common type of platform work is platform-determined routine work that's done on location. And what platform-determined means, for example, in the case of Uber or in case of food delivery, it's the platform that decides who gets the gig. It's the platform or the algorithm or whatever, but it's anyway the algorithm of the platform firm that kind of allocates the tasks. Whereas if you have client-determined specialist work, then it's the client who is looking for somebody, for example, to do designing or copyright or something like that. And then you have, as a worker, better, in a way anyway, better possibilities to kind of advertise yourself and try to get the gig because the client is the one who chooses. So if we go back to the most common type of platform work in the EU, it's almost 1/3 of platform work in the EU. That is the type of work that Uber drivers are doing. And also, I mean, that's the share of platforms, and that's the share of also platform workers. Now, if you look at the second most common type of platform work, which is online client-determined specialist work, that's only 5.4% of all platforms that are this kind of platforms, but 30.3% of all platform workers who do this type of platform work. And this means that there are not many platforms that offer this kind of work, but these few platforms kind of they are the ones through which platform workers work if they do this type of work, such as Upwork. And then thirdly, The third most common type of platform work within the EU is on-location client-determined moderately skilled work, which is, for example, gardening or renovating at somebody else's house. So what about the numbers? How many people work via platforms at the moment? I mean, I agree with James that he was saying that this is what platform workers do, this is the working life for them now, but this is what everybody else is going to get in the future. I mean, obviously, I'm not a predictor, I can't look into the future, but I see that it's very much possible that this gets kind of spilled to more traditional sectors of working life. So at the moment, if you look at the figures, they are not big. I mean, in Finland, the share of working age population who had ever done any platform work, just logged in once on any platform, it was 6% of working age population, and 0.6% who had earned at least half of their income through platforms. And earning at least half of their income through platforms means that they are dependent on platform work. And a study by the European Parliament a few years ago, just 2 years ago actually, showed that about 1/4 of platform workers are dependent on platforms and earn at least half of their income through platforms. And they are the ones who have the most problems also. They have problems in making ends meet and getting enough salary to pay the bills. There are also people, 75% people who work through platforms who do that part-time or as a side job, but it doesn't exclude the fact that there is also this 25% of people who do it and who need to do it to be able to earn a living. So James was going through quite a lot of the challenges and problems. I've been reading a little bit Associate Professor Vili Lehdonvirta's work, and he's been doing research on microwork. And microwork is the type of work that is being done online. And it's the click work. It's not highly skilled work, but it's routine work. So there are no physical work sites, no working hours, no job titles, no recognizable supervisors, which I suppose is similar to Uber, and workers are dispersed. And this is particularly due, I mean, people might be dispersed also within a city, but in microwork, people are dispersed around the globe. So literally, people who are doing the same thing as you are doing can be the other side of the globe. It's flexible in a way. You get to choose the time when you do the job. But if you really have to make a living, it might be that you have to wait for gigs during the night, for example, to be there when the big money, I mean, I suppose it's not really big, but anyway, to be available when the good gigs become available. There's a lot of invisible work, like what James was saying, waiting for gigs, even for micro-workers, not just workers who work on location. One-sided terms of use. If you think about more traditional employment situations, you would have a job agreement, an employment agreement. I mean, we can go on and discuss whether that's really genuine from the worker's side, but at least it is an agreement, and if you want to change it, you are going to have to negotiate with the worker or the representatives of the worker. But in platform work, oftentimes it's one-sided terms of use. If the platform firm decides to change the terms of use, you might not have, I mean, you don't have any alternative than to accept or then get kicked out of the platform. Rating systems, they might be good for you if you have good ratings, but what about can you take them with you? And these are the issues that James were talking about data rights. And there is, of course, a lack of adequate social protection. You don't have paid sick leaves, you don't have paid holidays, you don't have health care, you don't have insurances. I know Uber has started to organize insurance for their drivers, but at least when I look at the terms in Finland, I would say that, I mean, you can't compare it to the kind of safety net that you would have from, for example, public healthcare here in Finland. What about pensions? What about unemployment benefits if you wind up unemployed and you're not allowed to go to the platform anymore? So this is my final slide. What about the solutions? I mean, I agree with James very much that when appropriate, employment status, employee status, or worker status should be guaranteed. I mean, if you are under a supervision of the platform company, if your work is directive, if the platform company has power to the way you do the business, it's not really your business, it's the platform company's business. So one might want to take a look at the criteria of worker or employee in each state. But it doesn't exclude the fact that there are also platform workers who are genuinely freelancers. And I think you have to look this case by case. Because, for example, if you're a freelancer who is doing, for example, voiceover work traditionally, and then you also get gigs through the online world, that might be just genuine freelancing and nothing wrong with that. That's just another way for you to get gigs. Is the online work. But I think the key issue is because sometimes you see people say that we just have to reform the social security system and to get some, for example, basic income for all workers so that platform workers also could live by the money that they make through the platforms. But for me, I think the collective bargaining rights, that's the key issue, because that's the way to get the fair share of the profits that these platform companies make to the workers. And that's the way you really lift up people. I mean, you have to reform social security systems too, because there are freelancers, genuine freelancers in traditional sphere and also in the internet and in the platform economy. So you need that, but you can't do that at the expense of collective bargaining rights. And here we come to data rights, because obviously, as James was saying, you are going to have your data so that you are in the equal position to bargain your working conditions. Thank you very much.